Hello everyone. Today I'd like to share with you something about what I'm often do myself. Um, I like to talk about the face of the Buddha. Okay. The face of the Buddha has a very important meaning to me, and I think to a number of people who I think who can appreciate and understand who the Buddha was. Okay. If you have a statue or if you have a picture of the Buddha, or when the word Buddha come up, or when you see the Buddha in the statue of the Buddha in a garden and all that stuff, I think most of the people, what come up in their mind when they hear the word Buddha, or when they see the word, the statue of the Buddha, or you know whatever that relate to the Buddha, the idea of peace and tranquility come up, in their mind. So next time, I guess, if you happen to have a statue of the Buddha or a picture of the Buddha, take a good look at what the face of the Buddha is expressing or is telling you. Okay, the Buddha, as we all know, was an enlightened person, an awakened being. And after he realized all the truth, he becomes peaceful. He becomes acceptable to everything, all around. That's why the Buddha become the Buddha. He accepts things the way it is, and he understands all the truth. So when you look at the face of the Buddha face show you this impression that he's content, he's always peaceful, he has no ill will or hatred feeling or anything toward all beings. He's a compassionate one. He's the one who understands everything. So when you take a good hard look at the face of the Buddha, he's always sort of smile a little bit. He's always at peace, and he's content, and always in a position of what we call equanimity. There's no leaning toward any side. He's always standing in the middle with the truth. So, and he's a really like a really content person, full of peace, and like we a lot of time we say serenity, and he's always calm and almost like has no he has no like high emotion, like the gyration or the emotion that go up and down. He doesn't have any of that. He's always calm, he's at peace, and he's always content and full of compassion. That's the Buddha, because he has the heart of a pure human being who love and has compassion and empathy toward all beings around him. And that's the expression and the impression that of the Buddha's face. And how important is that? Oftentimes, for me at least anyway, personally, as normal regular human being, we always have or run into everyday let's say issues, everyday things that you sometimes have to to solve, to deal with. Okay, and small things here and there, maybe there's no big deal, you can answer, you can find a resolution easily. It doesn't matter whether the issue is about myself or about others, you know but many times when there's difficult issue come up that is hard for me to find out what the solution is, what is the right thing to do. Okay, when I run to a wall, sort of, cannot come up with an answer or what, most of the time or almost all of the time on a certain thing, I would ask the Buddha. How do I ask the Buddha? Okay, I ask the Buddha this way. Because I already know, the Buddha's face is already in my brain, I guess, in my memory. I already have the vision of the Buddha, the face of the Buddha, what the Buddha looks like. And when I vision the face of the Buddha, I see a face that is at peace, that is content, that is calm, full of serenity, has no anger, no hatred toward anyone, any being, has no ill will, full of compassion. I know that in my heart, that's the Buddha, that's the face of the Buddha. So, understanding that is my base, that is my foundation that I use to find answers toward many things that come up, in our daily life. We always run into issue, run into problem, whether whatever it is, family or relatives or friends or whatnot, or co-workers, or all kinds of stuff. If there's issue that is difficult to tackle, I always ask the Buddha. I said, if I were if the Buddha was in front of me, what would the Buddha do? What would the answer be? And that's what I try to find out. Okay, what would the Buddha say if this problem come, you know, to the Buddha? And with that, I I vision the face of the Buddha. Okay, understanding that the Buddha is an all, compassionate person, enlightened person who has no hatred and stuff. So, based on that foundation, you you or would probably find the same thing, the same method or same way as I have done, as I have discovered myself. That using that as a foundation all of the time, or even I cannot say always a good thing, always good, but always is always very helpful for me. That when I use the Buddha, when I ask the Buddha for answer, based on the foundation of the all compassionate person, all compassionate being, I would use that and find the answer that way. They say, wow, let's say that somebody, scolded you, okay, or somebody give you a hard time, or let's say there's some kind of fight in wherever, between who or what, it doesn't matter. To find answer to how to handle the situation, right there and then, you would put yourself, if you were the Buddha, what would you do? What would the Buddha do? See, that's the thing. I always ask the Buddha, what would the Buddha do in situation like that, in situation like this? It doesn't matter what the situation is or the issue is. When you ask the Buddha, you would always come up with a very good answer, and that answer, that resolution, always based on peace, on compassion, on equanimity, no leaning toward any side, okay, no ill will toward anyone. So based on that, you would always come up with very good resolution, very good answer to any issue that come across, because you use that as your base, and that is a very good base to use. This is from my experience and from my opinion, because you're not basing any answer or resolution or answer, based on your own opinion. You're not basing it on your own opinion, on your own emotion, or on your own experience, but you're basing it on the purity of the Buddha's heart, based on compassion, based on peace, equanimity, and love and empathy to our beings. Though when you use that as the base to solve issue, all of the time, the answer or the solution that come up never have any anger, any ill will, any hatred, anything in those solutions. You would always come up with a solution that is peaceful, that is calm, that is fair, that is right to all parties, because you base your answer on a very good foundation. This is what I always do. So I just want to share with you that every day, every day from daily basis, we always, a lot of time we have run into with a personal problem, or friends has issue, or family or whatnot. When these things arise, I would always ask the Buddha, okay, Buddha, what would you do, on a situation like this? And based on that, and when I imagine the Buddha's face with all that compassionate heart and peace and calm, the Buddha would give you the answer. And this is my opinion, I think the answer would always be a peaceful answer, a compassionate answer, no, not an answer that entices more quarrel or more argument, but an answer that finds a peaceful resolution. So this is the way I ask the Buddha. So that's just a little thing that I like to share with you today, which I hope you find it useful and helpful. Whether you use the Buddha as a base or as your foundation, or you can use God. You believe in Christianity or Allah in Muslim. I think you can do the same thing. You can always ask God or ask Allah, what would you do if this situation come up? And think, because the Almighty God or Allah or Jesus, God, they are superhuman being. They all have compassionate heart. They are uh, loving, toward other being. So what would they answer if they come across situation or issue? How would they go about, solving issue, solving problem? And I can almost guarantee you that they would probably come up with similar solution or similar answer to what would the Buddha come up also in um, a peaceful way. Always come up with answer to problem, to anything, with a peaceful resolution that doesn't do harm to any parties. I believe that's how the Buddha or Jesus or God or Allah or any superhuman or enlightened being resolve issue. That is my true feeling, which I believe is a very good base and a foundation for all people to use. Instead of using our own opinion or because we all have biased opinion. But if you can ask, you know, your God or the super being or the Buddha, by imagining, look at the all the good heart, the all compassionate, being. I think we all would come up with the same answer how to solve issue by not using our own personal bias, judgment or opinion. Okay, because for most of us lay people, we 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 usually resolute to our own opinion to solve issue. But my suggestion, this is my opinion, if you base it not on your own judgment but based on Buddha's way or God's way or Allah's way, the all compassionate, the all loving being toward all being, they have no ill will, no harmful intention to anyone. Then based on that, I think we all can come up with, you know, not probably maybe not exactly the same answer as the Almighty, as the enlightenment, but somewhere, in a similar path, because there's no ill will involved. Because the resolution always, try not to harm anyone, try to find a peaceful resolution to any problem. So that's my suggestion to you, and my little 2 cents here. I hope you find it useful, and you can apply it toward your daily life. All right, until next time, you have a wonderful day. All right.